Greetings, gamers. I'm Bedroth.
I'm Shoot-the-Bow.
And I'm ProfJeff.
And you're listening to Very Good Music,
a VGM podcast.
All right, everybody. Happy New Year, and we are back to welcome in 2021 with a very special guest. Returning for episode 11 once again. Maybe we'll make this a seasonal thing. But with very good friend and fellow VGM lover,
ProfJeff.
Yes.
Yay.
And yeah, welcome back, man. How's it been?
It's been 2020.
It has been. Yeah, because we actually recorded our first episode way back in like March or April. Like, it was pretty early in the year. It's one of the first ones we recorded.
In the before times. Before the plague hit.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. It's been 2020. But you know what? Now it's 2021, at least as people are hearing this. Even though it's really just still late December of 2020 that we record.
QC Lab music.
Right. So, it's not.
It's
C-Lab.
it's
Castlevania.
Is your son illiterate?
That's not like a literary thing. What would be the musical version?
Inaudible.
Illiterate?
He's inaudible.
Inaudible. I don't know. Anywho, Confusion.
Audible confusion.
Shugabout, you haven't said many words. What are we talking about?
Platformers, I think.
Oh, yeah, so we're gonna have like Mario and Kirby and Sonic and Bonk. And all the like and all the like main like platform people like Shovel Knight and Sha-Tae from like the new era, right? All the big like good well-known names.
Yeah. Bonk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bonk.
I've got all my tracks loaded up. It's all Mario stuff all the time because you know how we be. What are we gonna? You're not picking up on the joke here, Shugabout. You're supposed to correct me and tell me what we're actually doing.
No.
Are you bitter about it? Because I made you like not pick some of your songs that you wanted to pick?
Yeah, I wanted to pick Hollow
So you mean you deplatformed him?
Well, I tell you what. I will guarantee you that eventually...
Hollow Knight and Fall Guys.
I will guarantee you that we will eventually play, like, do just a whole Hollow Knight episode.
That means you didn't get a... No, you got a Hollow Victory.
And you get to pick all the tracks on that one.
Yay.
Yeah, but you did get to pick 5 tracks tonight. And I picked 4. And ProfJeff also picked 5.
5! I'm holding up my hand and you can't see it.
Yeah. including our first track for this evening. What are we going to be... Because, we're not actually doing like all the main top-tier platformers. That was actually one of the things we talked about.
You said Bonk and I was extremely triggered and I had to register my outrage. Just like the time he referred to Goemon Mystical Ninja as the single most recognizable mascot of the Konami company.
I did?
Yes! I made an explicit note of this in my email to you.
Well,
I talked to your manager.
That's right. Who do you think is the single most recognizable Konami?
So the best and also most recognizable, and if you don't, you will regret it, mascot of the Konami, let's see, what was it? Publisher. The Konami publisher in the 90s would be Rocket Knight, Sparkster of Rocket Knight Adventures, and we are going to play in with stage 1-1 from Rocket Knight Adventures on the Genesis. All right, so that was composed by Masanori Oouchi, Hata, Michiru Yamane, Masanori Adachi, Hiroshi Kobayashi, and Akira Yamaoka. And we don't know which one it is because there were many composers, correct?
Correct. This was back when the Konami team was doing a lot of, like... Well, they were not the only publisher that did this. Falcom actually also started famously doing this. But there was the Konami Kokeha Club, or something like that, which basically was all of their composers, and they would kind of like get together. And I don't know if they would hive mind songs, or if they would just like each compose things and then kind of decide to put all their names on it. Some of this was to, at least with Falcom, it was to protect the company from all their best composers being scalped, because like they were famous for like super big good music, as happened early in Falcom's
interesting
area. So that's why Falcom developed their Falcom sound team JDK, and now it's pretty difficult to find out who composes specifically which song. But I don't know if that's why Konami did it, but I do know that a lot of those names you read, I know Akira Yamaoka, Masanori
Oouchi.
Yep. There was Michiru Yamane is one of the big names. Big names. That's the Castlevania lady. So, yeah. And
it doesn't sound like Castlevania, though.
This does not. This doesn't sound like anything Konami from like that I remember from the day. This was really, really good. Shukapow, what words do you have about this?
That was pretty cool.
How did this stack up with some of the more like orchestrated stuff that we played back on like our winter episodes? This won't open a can of worms at all. How do you feel about these retro, like, sampled sounds and FM synth sounds as opposed to, like, modern synths and instrumental sounds? Like real instrumental sounds?
I guess I like the modern sound better, but chiptune's cool.
Well, this isn't strictly chiptune. This is kind of like an in-between thing.
Whatever this is cool.
Yeah, the retro sound. ProfJeff.
The retro sound.
Picked from Rocket Knight because...
Adventures.
Rocket Knight Adventures.
Just Rocket Knight is the name of the sequel that nobody liked. That was remade a few years ago.
The sequel that nobody liked.
We will definitely get into that in a second because I do have some questions about this lesser understood series. Yes. And at least by me and by some other people on the community that I know, because it's come up before. But we decided to talk about platformers that are maybe slightly less well-known, could either deserve a little more time in the spotlight. Some of these I actually had never heard of before this episode. And some of the ones that Shukapow brought are just not like as mainstream. They're more indie published, or they're... we basically have... It's not the A-tier stuff that we brought tonight, but it definitely is A-tier level VGM. And this was really cool. I liked... they were doing a lot more symphonic sounds than the Genesis was super known for, and they made it sound pretty good. But with a pedigree like Konami's music team, that's not too surprising. So, tell us about why you picked this track, and your history with Sparkster, the lovable armored rodent.
So I have a number, the eponymous opossum, as I like to call him.
Yes.
So by which I mean, Sparkster is the Rocket Knight. He's a knight who is also a possum, and he has a jetpack and a sword. And he can also, climb things with his tail when he's not jetpacking and hitting things with his sword.
That's totally prehensile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I own this on the Sega Genesis. When I was a kid, we had like Sonic 3. We didn't have Sonic 2. We had Sonic 1, and this game, like especially this track, it really kind of sticks out for what platformers feel like playing them. It's kind of sticks with me because it's that really synthy sound, but like the composing is like more orchestral, and like especially this song. You mentioned Bedroth, that it reminded you of Pokemon, which I can guess that sort of combative, like Coliseum-ish riff at the beginning.
Yeah, the da 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 da.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. It reminded me of some of the stuff I've heard from like the Root themes. And I mean, you're the Pokemon expert, Shukapow.
Yeah.
Do you think that I feel like that riff would be right at home in a Pokemon game?
Yeah, I actually, what it reminds me of is it reminds me of the overworld theme from Zelda, because it's very adventurous, but also a little bit like the Star Wars theme from A New Hope, because it kind of goes different places.
It does, and there is definitely something about the sound of the instrument choices that they used that I think it plays up the rocket aspect of this, because it sounds spacey, it sounds sci-fi.
Yeah.
And it made me think a little bit of the opening theme to an NES game. Not a platformer really at all. It's more of a side-scrolling shooter, and then a sort of early proto-Metroidvania called Air Fortress. It's a really, really cool soundtrack, and the game is pretty fun as well. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, there were also some Rocket Knight games on the SNES. There was Sparkster.
I think there was exactly one.
And I thought Rocket Knight Adventures came out on both.
No, so there was Rocket Knight Adventures on the Genesis. That was the first game, and the only game worth playing, honestly.
Because Sparkster is like the sequel.
Yeah.
But it was on the SNES.
It was on both.
Oh, it was on both. Okay.
Yeah, but it's also two different versions of the same game that are also more or less different games with the same name.
Interesting.
One of them is just Sparkster, the other one is Sparkster: Rocket Knight Adventures 2. But the one with the colon, Rocket Knight Adventures 2, is on the SNES, which actually didn't have Rocket Knight Adventures for the same system. Someone did a video on this.
Well, if I can find that, or if you can send it to me, I'll link it in the show notes.
And then the fourth game in the series was just Rocket Knight, and that was I think that was on the Xbox store or something. It's also on Steam. It's not good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have good music either.
Oh, that's sad.
And I mean, it might be an okay game, but just with the legacy that can't live up to as Konami's single best series of all time, at least for mascot platformers.
Mascot platformers. I think that if you're going to say best Konami series of all time, you've also got Castlevania to reckon with.
Yeah, it would be fun if you could have another sequel that was as good as Rocket Knight Adventures, but then you could shank some mystical ninjas in it. That would be cool.
And Goemon is more of an adventure game than a platform game, really. But yeah, you're right. As far as platforming mascot games, Sparkster is really it for Konami. And it sounds really cool. From the gameplay that I have seen, this is a game I would have enjoyed if I had ever picked it up. Just by luck of the draw, it wasn't one of the Genesis games I had. But seems like it would be pretty cool. That whole same game, different name thing reminds me of some Pixel Tunes Radio and maybe XVGM episodes, although I might be mixing them up because of Mike being on both of them. But they actually have done that thing before where it's two different games that have the same name, but they're on different systems, and they're basically different games from each other. They might actually have done Sparkster and Sparkster 2, the Rocket Knights Adventure 2, whatever. Yeah. Game with a mouthful of a title. But you know what? This actually brings us kind of back to my first track of the night, because I am also doing a mascot platformer. During this era, the early 90s, my game is actually also from 1993, and it was also on the Genesis. It was not a Konami title, though. I don't recall who the publisher of this one was, but, you can look it up. I first heard of this game as a Sonic clone. That seems to be fitting, because the Wikipedia entry just says this game has been criticized for too closely resembling Sonic the Hedgehog. That's all that's in it. It doesn't have a synopsis of the gameplay or anything.
Impressive.
Yeah. So apparently this game is a lot like Sonic, but it's got some pretty funky music. I like it a lot. It was called Time Dominator in Japan and some other games, some other countries. And it is about a time-traveling, robotic duck creature thing. Here in the US, it was just called Socket. And we are going to be listening to Time Castle. was Time Castle from Socket, composed by Fumito Tamayama, Yoko Suzuki, and Shigenori Masuko. Shigenori Masuko. Released for the Genesis in 1993. These two games don't sound like they were composed in the same time period to me.
We're on the same system.
Yeah, this is a very different sound from the Rocket Knights sound. In some ways, this is actually what I more associate with Genesis music.
Yeah.
I think I found that the publisher for this game was Vic Tokai. This was not one of like the big ones. And from what I remember, Socket Time Dominator, it's totally a Sonic clone. But you play as this robotic bird creature who has to go back in time to various different places in order to stop a mad scientist from doing some kind of evil thing. So
it's like edgy flicky.
Yeah. Yes. But this was... I liked this a lot. It was really crunchy. That bass was a lot of fun. I think that this song and the Rocket Knight song show the breadth of what Genesis sound hardware could do. What do you think? If Shukapow, if anybody had played these two songs for you, would you have guessed them to be on the same system?
No.
Did anything stand out to you instrument-wise on this track?
I guess that high pitched melody sound.
Yeah, that's the high synth sound. I would call that like a flute synth, like a woodwind type synth. I think that's what it's supposed to be, maybe trying to be. Whereas on the Rocket Knight, we definitely heard that trumpet-ish, the brass synth.
Yeah.
But this is it's a different style. This is more of a techno style, whereas the Rocket Knight was going for a more orchestral, or film score, swelling, epic feel. And with the percussion line on this track, it was giving me a lot of Maniac Mansion vibes. Have you heard the Maniac Mansion soundtrack from NES?
Nope.
I'll have to play it for you sometime. You'll hear the drums, but it's really cool. It's Maniac Mansion. I forget offhand who the composers are, but I heard an interview with one of the lead composers, and they basically did what a lot of Western composers did, and they kind of had to reverse engineer how the sound worked on the system, the NES, and come up with basically their own way to make sounds on it. And it's a really, really rocking and really different sounding soundtrack for that.
Is the game good?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was a point-and-click adventure game. You play as a bunch of teens who are, again, trying to stop a mad scientist. This time, they are, harboring this rogue, sentient meteor that has crashed to Earth and is trying to destroy the world. One of the endings is you talk the meteor into getting an agent and going on TV and becoming a famous person. Yeah, that's the kind of game it is. It's a LucasArts game. Definitely quirky humor. It's a lot of fun.
See, with Rocket Knight, you're just trying to kill the Pig Emperor for stealing your princess.
See, that's straightforward. That sounds slightly like another game I've heard before, about killing pig emperors and saving princesses. Although that's not a platform game.
The second Link's
yeah, Zelda
Adventure
2.
was.
But
Except the pig emperor is already dead in Zelda 2.
Oh, really? Who do you fight in Zelda 2?
Your Shadow.
Oh.
Link's Shadow is the final boss. But we didn't pick that song tonight, even though it is a platformer, because it's definitely not second tier.
I platform away from people when I'm exercising my strategy of just don't die in Smash Brothers, which backfires when I realize I spent so much time not dying that I don't know how to kill, and so I just kind of flip and flop.
It's kill or be killed.
Yeah,
we did practice a lot of Smash Brothers tonight, and definitely time dominated us for the most part. I mean, Shukapow. I'll have to bleep that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Shukapow. What is your first track of the evening going to be?
I'm bringing something from a platformer that I got into a little bit ago and haven't played very much of it.
I think but
RJ likes it a lot.
And it has fantastic music.
Mm-hmm. And the main character, Madeline, actually got a moveset made for her by Brawlfan1, who makes Smash movesets on the internet.
Yep. I could not see Madeline in Smash Bros. It's kind of antithetical to her nature. Although you could probably say that about some of the Smash Bros. Characters anyway. But doesn't really seem to fit the vibe of Celeste to me. And what are we going to be listening to from Celeste?
We are going to be listening to First Steps, the song that plays in The Forsaken City. which is the first level, which is why it's called First Steps. That was Forsaken City from Celeste, released in 2018 for many systems and composed by Lena Rain. The remix, the B-side, which is officially in the game as a remix, was composed by Maxo.
Yes, the moniker of Max Coburn, and he's actually a member of Materia Collective, a big collection of composers and remixers and stuff like that. And yeah, you're right. Do you remember how the B-sides function in Celeste?
I mean, I know they're little collectibles that you can pick up.
Yes, and when you pick up a B-side in a level, it actually unlocks the B-side version of that level, not just the music, but it actually the level itself. It's the same mechanics of its chapter, but it's harder. And so this is the music that plays on the Forsaken City's B-side. So yeah, this was really cool. ProfJeff, what did you think of this?
I thought it was a really nice layering of sounds. I like that kind of whooshing, the sort of fadey sense, and that one little sound that sounds like someone's throwing sand through a sifter. Mm-hmm. And the way it was layered with the piano and the high synth.
Yeah, the sound production on Celeste was just off the charts. It was really, really, really well done. I really liked that the lead, the keyboard sound, and also that the lead synth, which is also, I believe, the same sound that that's used for Madeline's voice in the game, her singing and talking voices. I should say, their singing and talking voices. But this was really, really cool. Nice big Shukapow, and I'm glad we picked something that, even though Celeste is kind of well known, it's different because the whole gaming scene is different now than it was when you and I were kids, ProfJeff. It's that was also at different times, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. That's because back then you could have things that really dominated the zeitgeist, like Mario and Sonic and their big super rivalry. Now you have a whole lot more, you still have big AAA titles, and of course Mario is still doing his thing.
They're glitchy and really expensive, though.
Yeah, and then you have to pay for the patch that supposedly is going to fix the glitches, but let's not go there. But then you have this awesome, wonderful indie scene that has blossomed out of largely one of the same tradition that launched one of the games that you're going to be talking about. Two of the games I think you're going to be talking about tonight, Superfast, so we'll come back to that. But Celeste is a really perfect example of that. So, not a top-tier platformer, but to its audience, it is as beloved as any mainline platform game that you could see. So.
I also like that the piano gives the song a sense of foreboding, you're looking at the sheer side of a mountain.
Yes.
It's interesting that that combination of plotting and composing kind of lends this kind of impression.
Yeah, it does, yeah. The atmosphere in Celeste is exquisitely crafted. The whole team just did a really, really bang-up job. Yeah, what are you going to follow that with, sir?
Alright, so I'm going to do a little known, probably not, I guess indie, maybe small scale, a little known title called Donk the Samurai Duck. Before we start, so this is, we got mountains, we got sort of a high spiritual sound. Like, what do you guys think when you think of a samurai duck? What would that soundtrack sound like?
I don't know, honestly, I picture...
Trumpets.
Trumpets, you think?
Trumpets.
Like squawking trumpets? Quacking trumpets with a mute, like rattly one?
I picture Donald Duck in samurai get-up, and so I'm getting some of the old, like, Disney silly symphony sounds in my brain.
Okay, I was thinking of, like, the sort of wood blocks and, those the kabuki chants and,
but with a name
tonka
like
drums.
Donk, this doesn't sound like a super reverent samurai game, so I could also see this maybe being made by a Western studio, and therefore having kind of more Western rock synth electronic sensibilities. I don't know.
Although in their defense, donk is a noise that a tonka drum makes.
Okay.
So, anyways, let's listen to the main title of Donk. This is performed by Fate! Yes. And this is the Amiga CD32 version, published in 1994. Once again, this is the main title of Donk! Samurai Duck! So, once again, that was the main title theme of Donk the Samurai Duck, composed by Fate!
So I think the composer I was looking at, based on the YouTube video I saw, the composer was Tim Erickson for at least the game. I don't know if he composed this title theme and then Fate performed it, or if it was just a song by Fate. Do you know?
No.
But yeah. Yeah, I don't know about the rest of the soundtrack. This is not what I expected to hear when you asked me about a game called Donk the Samurai Duck. This... This was really fun. This was really good. I liked it a lot. Shukapow. Okay, first off, Shukapow. What'd you think of the song?
It was interesting.
Did you like it? This isn't really your style, is it?
Nah.
This is kind of a jazz fusion, sort of like late pseudo-disco kind of track. I'm not totally sure how I would categorize it.
So part of this is me getting revenge for not having a Sonic episode. So this is like a stealth Sonic R game. Like it's like a song from Sonic R, if you've ever heard that soundtrack, which is one of the best in the last however many decades that was.
I can feel the sunshine.
I was gonna say that it was one decade. That is not the case.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, I could hear this in Sonic R, for sure.
And I also highly recommend anyone looks at the title screen, because Donk has this giant, hyper-detailed, anthropomorphic hand reaching out at you.
Human hand.
Because it wants you to touch heaven, too, apparently. And the lyrics are all about trusting who you are, and like...
And it feels good to me, and opening your mind.
going to heaven with this duck.
So maybe this is like the song that was playing in the head of whoever the lady is in Howard the Duck.
Yeah, or, me when I'm trying to get a wine bottle open and the corkscrew isn't cooperating with me.
Oh, I don't want to know if that's a euphemism or not, because we're dancing on the edge of our rating here. Alright, man, I liked this song. Shukapow, what system do you think that this was released for? What did this sound like to you?
Almost sounded like Wii U, I guess.
So this sounded like a late era system to you. Do you think this was CD audio?
It was definitely CD audio.
CD. Anyway, yes.
I guess, yeah, sort of.
So you can tell it's not like FM Sense or samples or like chiptune. The vocal quality is way too clean. That's because this was on a CD system, not the Sega CD, and not the TurboGrafx CD or PC Engine CD for those of you outside the States. This was released on the Amiga CD32. Which, if you'd been listening when ProfJeff read in the track, you would have known that. But that's okay, because you are 15. And then I don't get to ask you these things.
And as a 15-year-old, he would probably appreciate the joke, which is that I first heard of this game on... I was watching Guru Larry, and he had top 5 games whose names changed for stupid reasons. And this was originally Dong, the Samurai Duck. Because they just thought it was funny.
And from what I saw, it was like the British, the British equivalent of the FCC made them change it or something because they thought it would be, or the British publishers or something like that.
So according to Larry, the game changed hands with publishers, and the publishers forced, or maybe it was either the publishers or it was a store or both. So they didn't want a game that just had Dong on the box.
They thought it would be...
But the other names remain intact. So if you have Player 2, it's just Judo Jugs, which is just a duck and a gi. And then you have the villain, which is Big Bad Dick, apparently.
This game sounds amazing.
But unfortunately, it's just not... Like, the game itself, like, the soundtrack is... less remarkable. You don't touch heaven, as far as I'm concerned. And you kind of it's kind of just a generic platformer, but it has a really nice title track that reminds me of Sonic R.
What'd you say, Shukapow?
I think there's going to be more things you're going to be touching in this game.
Well, gems. You have to touch the gems.
Oh yeah.
By that I mean like gemstones.
Gemstones, not like earthworm gems.
Yeah, stones.
Oh man. Well, game certainly sounds like it has a lot of character.
At least 3.
All right. Well, I don't even know how to segue from that. You know what? I was going to play a different track, but I think I'm just going to go to the track I'm playing tonight that has the most character. This is also the game that kind of first made me think about doing this episode, because I just wanted an excuse to play something from this game after we first heard about it, Shukapow. Back on, I think it was the Sword Songs episode, when you played the theme that we hear on the route where you experience that sword Pokemon? Honedge.
Yeah, Honedge.
Yeah. What route is that in X and Y?
I think like 5 or something.
Yeah, it was like a series of routes, like 4, 5, 6, 7 or something like that. But it was that song. And we were looking up the composer, Hideaki Kuroda, who composed that track. And one of the games that he composed for, we realized was called Tembo the Bat Elephant.
Oh, yeah. You're going to have to bleep that out.
Yep. And maybe I'll find a nice elephant sound and we'll throw it in there. I'll say it again a few times so that we can play the elephant sound more. Bat Elephants. Tembo. That's all in caps, too. Everywhere I looked, it was all caps. Tembo the Bat Elephants. And if you could picture John Rambo, as an elephant, that's Tembo. Oh, I get the name now. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah. So from Tembo, the Bat Elephant, we are going to listen to Battle of Shell City. That was Stage 1 Battle of Shell City from Tembo the Bat Elephants. Composed by Hideaki Kuroda and released for PC, PS4, and the Xbox One, and on PC, of course, for Steam. And this was released in 2015. Another modern pick for y'all tonight. What did you think, gentlemen? Gentle people.
That was really cool.
It was very muscular, and I love that it was a march, and you had the tuba hits, as like with the snares and the cymbals, and of course, the trumpeting elephant.
Yep.
But it would be interesting if they remixed this. It would be interesting if they remixed this with woodwinds. Because you think of horns and trumpets, but having like a woodwind elephant.
Tembo and Smash.
Tembo and Smash.
Tembo's a bad.
Tembo for Smash. Yes, that would be bad for sure. We're going to have a lot of elephant sounds. But yeah, okay, so a little bit of the story here. Shell City is plunged into a state of emergency after coming under attack from the devastating forces of Phantom, all caps, led by a mysterious masked commander. Terrifying war machines emblazoned with skulls tear through the city, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. As the National Army threatens to contain Phantom, General Krenman sees the mammoth task at hand and calls upon the only thing that stands between Shell City's obliteration and its salvation. The peanut-chomping, villain-stomping, phantom-romping, badass elephant today, Tembo, the Badass Elephants. Aided by his faithful avian companion Piccolo, not Piccolo, but Piccolo.
Piccolo.
Oh, special beam cannon! Hits up to Tembo to jump, smash, punch, swing, and butt stomp his way through the phantom hordes. How does an elephant punch? Maybe he uses his trunk. As he aims to bring about the end of their tyrannical onslaught. featuring 17 cleverly designed 2D side-scrolling levels, a whole host of deadly enemies, and a unique comic book-style art. Tembo, the badass elephant, is the heaviest action-adventure of the year, weighing in at about 7.5 tons of fun.
I'm going to put that on my dating profile, that last bit.
Yeah. That's a nice little gaming... That's a nice little blurb. I think that was from the Steam shop description, which you said you've seen this game on Steam.
Yeah.
Have you seen any gameplay? How does it look?
It looks like a 2D platformer, but with an elephant.
But with an elephant.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the art style, though. It kind of reminds me of, I want to say, Gumball or something from Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it has, nice sort of manga-like sensibilities. Those tusks are really nicely animated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really cool. And I wonder, if this game ever comes to Switch, I'm definitely going to check it out. But I don't know if I'm actually going to get it. That depends on the price. But I definitely will, look into some videos and things like that. Don't really want to look too deep into it right now because I don't want to, love it and not be able to have it. Because I don't really play PC games. So.
Yeah, you'd have to address the elephant in the room at some point.
Yeah, you would. And on that note, Kapow, where are we going next?
We're going to a game that was actually released on Switch, and that we got pretty recently.
Okay.
And you started playing a couple of days ago.
I did, yeah. Mostly because I made you pick a different track than Hollow Knight, because I can't really say that Hollow Knight is not on about the same level as, Celeste. It really is.
It seems to be slightly more popular.
Yeah, maybe slightly.
Maybe that's just because, I like it better, so it's more popular with me.
But we played a lot of Hollow Knight on the show so far, and I wanted to do some new stuff this time around. And so, when you picked a track from this game, I did go ahead and start playing it a little bit. So we'll talk about it some when we come back. But what is it? What are we going to be listening to?
This is Ancient Castle from Goblin Sword. That was Ancient Castle from Goblin Sword, released in 2014 for the Switch and composed by Eleftherios Christodouletos.
According to Google, yeah. I saw on an iOS page, where this was originally released on iOS, I think, and then ported to a bunch of stuff, that it was composed by Andrew Riley. So, yeah, not totally sure. But it's a fun little game. This is a nice track. Why do you think you went to Goblin Sword after I made you not play Hollow Knight?
Swords.
Because it's cool.
Swords. What were you going to play from Hollow Knight?
The Radiance theme, which is the final boss theme. Spoilers.
Yep. I've got a final boss theme on my playlist tonight. This is not the final boss theme. Where does this play in the game?
Probably in an ancient castle?
It's the second, world area.
So how is this game structured? Is it like Mario, where you just go from one level to the next, and there's different worlds?
It sounds more like a modern castle.
There's different worlds, and then it has that phone game style where it's just a bunch of different levels.
But instead of being like a puzzle game or something like that, each level is a platforming level.
Yeah.
And you're like jumping around, finding secret areas, and getting treasures and killing enemies and things like that. So, but yeah, it is a stage by stage, and like it checks off each stage as you complete it. The area where you start is like the forest or something, right?
Yeah.
And then the second world is the ancient castle, where you actually go to fight the evil like goblin wizard, who's the big bad, who found the goblin sword, which is prophesied to like end the age of man or something like that. Some big world-ending threat.
The age of men is over.
Just some big world-ending threat. At this point, it's just...
It's 2020.
Yeah.
What's another one? Just throw it on the pile.
End it quickly.
Well, I mean,
please.
I was talking about JRPGs, but...
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. Yeah,
Peek up
there's
and
world-ending swords in all JRPGs. And usually they're called the Masamune, or Masamune.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
man.
is a Pokemon move. Peek up a pal.
Mm-hmm.
Peek up a pound?
Peek up a pal.
Sounds like some chicken with too much paprika in it.
This was a nice little track, though. Kind of an amuse-bouche after some of the stuff we've been listening to.
I don't know. I'm not a very amused douche.
I don't know. You're a pretty amusing douche. Alright. Yeah. What you got for us next?
Oh, me. I thought we were going to talk about the song. Were we going to talk about the song?
Oh, yeah. We talked about
It had music. You talked about the castle.
Oh, we did just talk about the castle. What did you think of the song?
I liked it. It seemed pensive. It was interesting because it shows the different dimensions that are in platforming games, which is generally 2 for the ones that we're looking at, 2 dimensions. But there's different feelings. This has pensive. You have this sort of piano that the Celeste track had, but you have the horns. But horns, sort of conveying a sense of grandeur. I'm thinking, wind fluttering banners and high towers and stuff. On that note, my next track is also sort of more pensive. The game itself is going to require a little bit of explanation, because unlike normal platformers, where you jump from one platform to the other platform and avoid falling in the water in this game you jump from one pool of water over the platform, and you can't jump on the platform and then jump over it. I actually tested it extensively to make sure that there was jumping in the game. So from Echo the Dolphin, from the Sega Genesis version, this is Jurassic Beach. So that was Jurassic Beach from Echo the Dolphin. Composers for this game included Spencer Nilsson, Brian Coburn, and Andres Magyari. The game was developed by Appaloosa Interactive, and again, this is the Genesis version 1992. I actually prefer it over the Sega CD because that one takes advantage of the CD sound.
The rental audio, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also very subtle and it's very layered, and it's faint enough that it kind of makes me think it was designed for dolphins.
Nice. Yeah, this is that it's stark is what it is. Do you know much about the Echo story?
I remember there's aliens.
Yep.
Dolphin.
And at this point, you actually have been taken back in time to like fight the alien queen when it's like able to be killed or something.
Is she the one who looks
Sounds
like a copyright
Earthbound.
infringement from like the Xenomorphs?
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds like Earthbound. Going back in time to fight aliens.
And kind of Chrono Trigger too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Only that's like a porcupine with a you-know-what for a face.
yes.
My cat needs to like put his tail down more often.
This is actually like, this is a Jurassic Beach because you're back in like prehistoric times, and I like the marimba-ish sound. I really like the panning on this. If you're not listening on headphones, I would encourage you to go back and
This
listen to this.
panning means that the sound is moving back and forth.
Yeah, there's really just the stereo, taking advantage of the stereo sound, where like some instruments are panned left and some are panned right. And I love this. This is classic Genesis sound, and I really it is polarizing to some extent, but I really like that like farty sample that I've talked about before on this show. I actually really like the soundtrack to X-Men on the Genesis, and a lot of people don't, but it's got that sort of grungy, like growly, again, farty guitar and bass sound, and I like it a lot.
When you said X-Men, some music popped into my head, but it was the Konami arcade X-Men and not the Genesis one.
That is great.
Wow.
Yeah, the arcade X-Men.
Do-do-do-do.
What does Magneto say at the end?
Welcome to die. I am Magneto, master of magnet.
Oh, I'm gonna have you back for a comic book episode at some point. Although,
Bruh, yeah.
at this point, it would be you and two of my patrons, Kung Fu Carlito and The Last Rican, because they also both really love comics. Neither of them, I think, would be as scholarly as you, but Daryl, Last Rican, would definitely bring the passion. You heard him on the Pokemon episode. And Carlos has he has this encyclopedic knowledge of things, and he can make all of these connections between stuff, and I think it would be a really, really fun time.
I could bring up that Genesis Justice League Task Force game.
Yeah, and if I could ever network it with you guys, I'd probably bring, like, Batman, because Batman on the NES is a great soundtrack.
Batman on the Genesis sounds crazy. Like, it doesn't sound remotely like a Batman game.
I think that was actually also by the same composer. I think they're both Naoki Kodaka. He's definitely one of my favorites. And, I don't know what all I would bring, though.
Yeah.
Probably something from the Marvel Spider-Man that came out a couple of years ago.
You could fit in a Jurassic Beach there, because you could go to the Savage Land on the coast of Antarctica.
Yeah, we could go there. We could, for sure. But this is not about X-Men. This is Echo the Dolphin. Probably the biggest stretch for the genre tonight. But you did make a case for
You
it.
said jumping in the text.
I did.
And I was like, whoop, okay.
Yep.
But not only that, but I jumped over something.
Yeah, there is jumping in the game, for sure.
And there's a little platform.
It's like a nega platform.
And then if you hit, it's just like, no, and then he just like rolls back into the water.
Oh, poor little dolphin.
Yeah.
I actually think that you trigger the game to really start by jumping. It's like
That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
But you have to talk to the other dolphin first. It's like, hey, see how you can jump. This is not a tutorial at all. We're just hanging out.
Yep.
This is constructive storytelling.
Well, good on you for picking up that Spencer Nielsen. A lot of podcasters I've heard call him Spencer Nielsen. And,
Well, my great grandfather was a Nielsen. Actually, in Oklahoma University, there's the Nielsen building named after him.
Oh, cool.
He worked on the electron microscope there, and so I just want to make sure we weren't related. Not that there's anything wrong with Spencer Nielsen. I would be honored, sir.
Yeah.
If we were related.
Yeah, this would be very, very cool. Shugapal, any thoughts about Jurassic Beach?
Oh, okay. I get you.
Yeah. What?
It's Jurassic Park. He's on Jurassic Park thing.
John Williams. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think? What did you think about that music? Do I need to play it again for you?
No. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. You were a lot more talkative on the winter episodes. This happens on our guest episodes, though.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
You're just giving our guests more of a chance to shine.
Yeah.
And I can never shut up. Yeah. Okay, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go from Genesis to...
Are we not going to talk about the music?
We did talk about the music. I just said it was marimba and it was farty, so...
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you think about the music?
I like the loop, too. As after the fart sound, I thought there was music afterwards. So the thing is I don't like beach levels. I don't like dinosaur levels. Like, I don't even play with the lizard men in Total Warhammer, even though they're like... I thought they were like lizard Aztecs, but they don't have enough human sacrifice, so they're lizard Mayans. And then, like, I don't like dolphins either, but I just love how, like, pensive and meditative this track is. It's just really... I just vibe with it, man.
So you, like, hate everything else about this level, but the music is great.
I haven't gotten to it, because I just played long enough to, like, jump into the alien tractor beam and then jump over the island to make sure I could actually navigate a platform. At which point I did.
Echo is an acquired taste, for sure.
Yeah. They have the fans and they just occupy their own little echo chamber.
Oh, man. You're so clever. Cleverness. Bringing something new to the podcast. But yeah, actually, my favorite podcaster, Keegliff, who I've talked about before, this is her, like, one of her favorites of all time. She loves the soundtrack, she loves the game. I mean, a Keegliff is a thing in Echo the Dolphin. Like, that's how she got her name. So, yeah, it's cool. Or how they got their name. Keegliff, I forget what they do. I think they're, like, the big gems that when you, like, throw your sonar at them, they spit messages back at you.
Yeah,
so that
makes sense.
That's the Keegliff in the game. Cool stuff.
Okay, now we can go further.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go from Genesis and Echo the Dolphin back to the Amiga again. And to yet another Sonic clone. Actually, this game started out in development as Cosmic Kitten, or Claws, which was the main character's name, Claws. And it was going to be a cat, like a fast cat. He was going to be like the Amiga's Sonic the Hedgehog. But unlike Socket, which I guess those publishers weren't really scared, they decided not to do this because they didn't want to have any kind of legal conflict with Sega, who was very, very protective of Sonic at the time.
Can they not tell cats and hedgehogs apart? Maybe not with that art style.
I don't know, but instead they decided to go with a cave boy who had been brought to, like, modern times by a mad scientist. And I don't know the cave boy's name. Oh, okay, no. Known simply as Kid in the game. But yeah, Kid Chaos apparently is the cave boy's name.
Oh, I thought you were going to do Bonk, and I was going to be really offended.
Oh, no, it's not Bonk.
Okay.
I did not do Bonk.
He's too mainstream. He's just like way too, he just has too much fame. Like,
I should have let you
Celeste, like, Hollow Knight, you need to move TF over.
I see, yeah, you should have, I should have let you bring Bonk. But you know what? You can come back when we do, because I know you love that.
No, I like the Donk over the Bonk.
Well, to each his own. Since I know you love dinosaur levels so much, you can come back when we do our Caveman Games episode, and you can bring a Bonk track then. This guy could be in the Caveman Games episode, but none of the music in this game sounds anything like any other Caveman game I've ever heard. Very, very techno, dubstep, electronica infused soundtrack, and a lot of it sounds really kind of samey. But there were two motifs that jumped out at me. Each world in this game has like a similar sound, like the melody, if you can call it that. But because this is really rhythmic tracks, but each level is a different like twist on that theme, and so it's pretty cool. This one is from the area known as the Toxic Wasteland, which is the second world in the game. And it's the first stage, the Concrete Pathway. Once again, this is from Kid Chaos. Stage 2-1, The Concrete Pathway from the Toxic Wasteland area from Kid Chaos.
With a K, right? 2 Ks?
No, just spelled like normal, both words.
That's not punk enough.
I know. This was released in 1994, and they didn't do that. Like, I don't understand. This was composed by Pipe Smoker's Cough, which is a band, I guess, or a duo comprised of Daniel Davies and Rob Finn. And I don't remember anything about them, because I think I looked it up at one point, but I couldn't find it again.
The one of the samples sounded like a pipe smoker's cough.
Yeah, this was... Man, so this actually was... This may have been the CD32 version. This was released on the Amiga and the Amiga CD32, like your dog. And again, in 1994. So, but yeah, this was... If you liked this song, listen to the rest of this soundtrack, because it's all going to be totally your jam. I was telling ProfJeff and Chukapow, this is not like 100% my style of music, but I think that if you like this style, it's very good music. So those of you who do like this, and know whether to call it dubstep or trance or electronica or whatever was around
Industrial.
in the 90s. Industrial, yeah. I definitely think that it would fit under industrial. So yeah, if you like this... Yeah, you can also check out The Arcane Machine, hosted by Justin Schneider and Ed Wilson of, respectively, the XBGM podcast and the VG Embassy podcast, every month on their industrial music podcast. So if you like this, go check that out. What did y'all think of the music?
That was good.
You were bouncing back and forth in your chair. You can feel the rhythm.
I thought it was very practical, especially if you're driving and someone is like tied up in your trunk and they're trying to get their way out, but you also want to cover the sound up so that the police don't hear when they're giving you a ticket.
That's very specific. It's definitely got a driving beat.
Yeah.
It's very practical.
Yeah.
I'd say this is a pretty effective, fits the atmosphere of whatever you're doing there.
Mm-hmm. I hope the game uses enough gray to make
what
that
you
kind of
got
sound.
there.
You were not born yet in 1994. I was 12 when this game came out. How old were you in 94?
4.
Oh, you were born in 90. That's right.
Yeah.
I forget that. That's how I should be able to tell.
89.
89. Oh, yeah. You're like very slightly older than my brother-in-law who was born in 90.
Mm.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway. You were 4. Turning 5. But 4 for most of the year.
Yeah.
All right.
It was nice. It was definitely not 2020 yet in so many ways.
Yeah, so I don't really have much else on this particular track. I thought the soundtrack was pretty cool. I know a lot of people who I think would like this a lot. But yeah.
I like that weird hitting an empty plastic drum sound. Or bwomp 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 bwomp.
There was some really cool use of sample here. It's actually a really long loop, and I kept kind of waiting to see what the next phrase would be. And it was really cool. But I think that's going to be it for me. So Shukapow, where are we going to? What platform are we jumping to next?
I think the next platform we're boarding will be Spelunky.
Ooh. This is one of the games I was referencing earlier when I was talking about early indie games that kind of jump-started the indie scene. This one, and probably what your next track is going to be, it was really, really good stuff. And kind of jump-started that whole scene back in the early aughts, or the mid-aughts. And this game was remastered in 2013, right? Which version did we pick from? I should be able to tell you. What's the name of the song?
This is Olmec, Boss 1.
Okay, yeah, this I'm pretty sure was from the remaster, because I think that they just had one repeating boss theme in the original Spelunky. So, alright, Boss 1 from Spelunky, Olmec.
Alright, and that was Olmec from Spelunky, released in 2008 for Steam, and composed by Eric Serke.
Yeah, I think that he did the remaster. Let me actually look that up. What did you think of that music, ProfJeff?
I really liked it. It didn't sound very Olmec, but it sounded more mecha than Olmec. But it has a really nice beat. And I just love the synths, and I love the way that the melodies like interweaved, and that it kind of, as always, it told the story and it communicated a sense of risk and tension.
Yeah, I really liked. I thought it was really effective boss music. The first area, I liked the fade outs. Really, really nice effects there. And I liked how at the end of each of those first phrases it would go do 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 and lead into the next one, which was kind of a precursor to the B section, the do 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 do, and I could see that happening just like right when the boss fight was ramping up. I haven't seen a whole lot of Spelunky gameplay because until the recent Nintendo Direct announcement that they were coming to Switch, I never thought that I'd be able to get these games, and so I never really looked too deep into them. Even when we played the Yeti theme on the Christmas episode, which you commented that you really liked that theme, but that the art style of Spelunky is never really...
Yeah, I was about to say, I think the mascot is rather ugly.
Yeah, he's just kind of a dumpy guy.
He looks like a Playmobil figure. Sorry if you designed the Spelunky person.
But yes, so George Buzenkai and Jonathan Perry were the original composers for Spelunky, and Eric Surke came back and did the remake music. Some of which was remixes of the original compositions, but a lot of which was original stuff for the remake, since it had a lot more music in it. So, Shukapow, why did you pick this song from Spelunky? Because I imagine you listened to other stuff. What do you think it is about this one that stood out? I know why you picked it, because you thought it was the best one you heard, but what was it about it that made it stand out to you?
I mean, boss fight, I guess. I mean, he's kind of like the guy, like, looks like a golden version of that one boss in the Sand Kingdom in Mario Odyssey, except without the fists.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. The Tostarena ruins, like, this big face, mask boss.
Yeah.
So it may look like an Olmec, even if it doesn't sound like an Olmec. And who is Olmec, ProfJeff?
So I can't remember. I always get the Olmecs and the Toltecs mixed up because they were both civilizations that disintegrated by the time the Spanish conquistadors came over the ocean.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
They really did not. Oof. Too soon, actually. I was reading in the Popol Vuh...
Even though it happened thousands of years ago, still too soon.
Hundreds.
Hundreds, not thousands yet. Well, the Olmecs were thousands of years ago.
Maybe. But the Spanish Inquisition wasn't.
It was hundreds, yeah.
I know math. A little bit of math.
I apparently don't know math or history.
Yeah, and apparently the Mayans were actually very good at math. So I've been reading the Popol Vuh... What?
It was the history of the entire world, I guess. The Mayans have figured out the stars.
You should watch it. It's a video.
Yeah, they were only 8 years early for the end of the world, too.
Oh, man. Too soon. All right. Yeah, you've been reading the Purple Vuh?
Yeah, the Popol Vuh, the Mayan Book of Council. So in the 16th century, there was, I believe, a friar or some sort of inquisitional figure named Diego de Landa who decided to burn all 10,000 extant Mayan codices. And so the Popol Vuh was a Mayan language book transliterated into Roman characters that was reconstructed and sort of recreated by a secret team of like Mayan speakers in the 18th century. And the introduction that I was reading, because I mean, if only one book survives from like the entire civilization of a continent from like thousands of years, I figured I might as well read it, right? So apologies if that sounds flippant. I'm trying to deal with the collective trauma of history. And, apparently they like the Olmecs according to the introduction. And so this was Spelunky, the guy is like the Spelunky guy is, of course, is a new style Orientalist, looking at the ruins of a civilization his ancestors most likely destroyed.
Yep. Yay. Didn't know it was going to get that heavy, did you?
Nope.
Yeah, history. Getting a history degree makes you fun at parties. You should try it.
But the music's really cool.
It is. I feel like this probably exists on YouTube, but I feel like if you had like a drum woodwinds vocal mixed, then you could probably make it sound like sort of more Mayan. Of course, Mayans and Olmecs aren't the same, but you could make it sound more
Mesoamerican.
Exactly. It'd be really sick. But the game looks fun, even though
I have never heard a more pronounced ellipsis and question mark.
Yeah, I'm very evocative when I speak. That's why my students love me.
Yes. I was trying to think of some nice linguistic cool way to say something about punctuation, but I couldn't think of another.
Yeah.
Punctilious?
We just go like
what's punctilious
English
mean?
Teacher,
Religion expert.
Yeah.
Pokemon master.
They call me a guru. No, that's a joke.
Start calling you Guru Jeff? No.
Guru Jeff. There's Guru Larry, though.
English teacher, religious guy. That came out.
Not necessarily a religious guy. It's actually an irreligious guy.
Well, I don't. Religion doesn't exist.
Ooh.
And then Pokemon master.
Pokemon master. Yeah, I definitely tell my students I'm not qualified to give them any spiritual advice, and they have not disputed me on that yet.
We've got 3 very different types of people here.
And I'm going to gloss over the fact that the guy who did a whole episode with us about religion and games just said religion doesn't exist. And we're going to go on to your next track, sir.
Just like gender. Yeah, so... on that note...
Game made up by bathroom companies to sell more bathrooms.
I think I spit on your laptop because that was so funny.
That's okay. He's a teenager. You don't want to think about what's on his laptop anyway. Go ahead.
Oh, that was a sleeper hit from Bedroth. Nice.
I have to put a notice on this episode.
Or maybe more of like a shaking bed joke than a sleeper joke.
Beware, this episode is rated PG-13.
Yeah.
Pokemon is on my laptop.
All right.
Gardevoir.
So I was gonna.
Oh no! Yeah, please move on.
Gardevoir used Charm. It's super effective. Squirt. Is Squirt a move? Okay. So I was just gonna talk about, because I said on that note, and I was gonna talk about boss music, because this new track is very, very bossy. So this is. So what's significantly less horrifying than colonialism is vampires. And this is the song called Young Descendant of Tepes from Touhou Luna Nights, composed by, developed by Team Ladybug for Steam, and I think it's coming to Switch soon. And yeah, so Young Descendant of Tepes is my song, and it's very bossy, and we're gonna heighten the tension and lower the awkwardness. Go!
Yeah, it went some places.
Yeah, so that was Young Descendant of Tepes. Tepes, rather. It's a Dracula reference. Original compositions by Zune, the creator of the Touhou series. And this arrangement was possibly by Pepposoft, according to Steam.
Yeah, saw that on the Steam soundtrack page, which apparently this soundtrack, even though the music is great, the soundtrack itself was not very well produced, and so that's kind of sad. This was really cool, and is this like from other Touhou games originally, or?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually mostly play. This is probably my favorite Touhou game. Because Touhou is what's called a doujin game, so it was originally as a small-scale self-published series by a guy named Zune. I believe it's a guy, a Japanese person, a singular person.
Yes, and I had he has like Team Alice or something as his development studio name, but it's just him, and he I have his name on one of our other ones. It'll be in the show notes because I have talked about it before, back when I called it Touhou, and Derek, one of the hosts of UGM Lounge, got mad at me. Friendlily mad at me.
Yeah, he beat me to it.
Yeah, Touhou. So, what's a doujin?
Doujin is a...
Doujin horse.
It's an independently published game that's usually small-scale, generally. It's often given away for free, but sometimes it's just like a small labor of love. It's like indie, but like hyper-indie. Generally like one or two people.
And is with Touhou, even though he made it, it's like public domain, right?
Yeah, and so this was by Team Ladybug, which is different from Team Alice.
Right.
And so they created this particular game. So most of the Touhou games are shooters, but since the Touhou games, the Touhou characters are freely sort of used and licensed between different fan games, some, like Luna Nights, are purchasable. Then this was an entirely different set of developers. Team Ladybug also they're currently working on a game called Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth, which is it's a licensed game based off of the 90s anime Record of Lodoss War, with classic Dungeons and Dragons style anime. And it has a similar gameplay as Touhou Luna Nights. Soundtrack isn't quite as masterful. So Young Descendant of Tepes gets its name from... So the plot is this entire game takes place in the Scarlet Devil Mansion, owned by Remelius Scarlet, the resident vampire of Gensokyo, which is the sort of little town where all this takes place in.
Yeah.
So the plot of Touhou is that it's a town that's populated entirely by little anime girls, and one of them is a shrine priestess, and she just shoots spell scrolls at spirits and exercises them, and has magical dogfights in like bullet hell style.
Okay.
And so with this, it's inside of the Scarlet Devil Mansion, which is owned by this vampire, and so you're actually playing as the vampire's maid, Sakuya Izayoi, and she can stop time and throw knives at people, which could definitely solve all my problems if I could do it.
That seems like a nice combination of skills there.
Yeah, and so you're just like you're climbing your way through a castle, and you have to stab people who are in your vampire's magic house, basically.
Okay.
And so this is, when you're climbing up the towers in this big magical castle. It actually reminded me a lot of, I was going to do a balcony song from Blasphemous, a game by Game Kitchen that had really beautiful music. But this particular track I just couldn't pass up because it encompassed all of the sort of dynamism I want in a platform game, and just
Blasphemous came out last year, right?
I don't know, maybe. It feels like it's been a very long time since last year.
Yeah, it does. Is there actual platforming in Blasphemous?
Yeah, tons.
Okay. I thought it was mostly like a side-scrolling, like more like a Souls-like thing where you're having to beat up these really powerful...
There's no dodge roll.
Oh, okay.
So it's not that Souls-like. It's more of the aesthetics.
Okay.
But there's like lots of platforming.
That makes sense. Yeah, the aesthetics were really memorable when I saw the trailer.
Yeah. I like it.
But this was a lot of fun. The music really went some places. Like, this was a crazy composition, and it was very well put together because you can't be that random and crazy and like thrown together and then be able to come back to it in such a smooth and meaningful way if you don't know what you're doing.
And there's like little gasps of air too. Is that when you get to the slow piano sections, it feels earned?
Yes. Yeah.
And that feels like a relief from attention, not just the composer being lazy, or maybe the conductor's arm getting tired with the orchestra or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, there were parts of this that reminded me of a story that you'll appreciate and that Shukapow knows. I was a drum major my senior year of high school.
Oh, you told me this a long time ago.
Yeah, and my very last performance as drum major was over Thanksgiving week, and our lead drum major was out because his parents had made plans, even though our band director didn't want us making plans because of that whole thing. So I stepped up as the lead drum major, and like a third at least of our band was going, and so we just performed a couple of our stand songs on the field. So we got up there and a couple of, the first two songs went pretty well, they were fine. Then we got to the last song of the night, which was Land of a Thousand Dances. And I started composing it, or I started conducting it. I composed Land of a Thousand Dances.
Just really quickly, in front of a crowd.
For anybody who doesn't know, Land of a Thousand Dances is about at this tempo. That's Land of a Thousand Dances. I started conducting it at this tempo.
That's a Land of a Thousand Dirges.
And then I realized
funeral for a dead dancer.
And I thought, you know what? I'm a senior. I know all these kids. These are my classmates. They'll follow me if I try to slowly speed back up and get us up to the right speed. And about half of them did. And the result was a cacophony that sounded not unlike parts of this song, but unlike this song, it did not come back together.
Maybe if they had a Dead Cow remix.
Oh, but yeah, that was
Dying Cow. That's what I mean. Dead cows are quieter.
Dying Cow remix, yeah. But unlike that, this song did come back together, and like you said, there were some very nice breaths of fresh air.
I like the little crunchy noise. It sounded like someone winding a clock.
Crunchy noise.
So is this a boss theme?
No, it's a transition theme.
Okay.
I'll also mention the whole soundtrack is this awesome. This is just my absolute favorite song.
Cool.
But there's some really great. The secret boss, where you fight like the Shrine Maiden, was really fun. Had more like traditional Japanese sounds in it. But this one was my favorite. I think this one is like when you're going up to fight your vampire mistress's sister. And by mistress, I mean boss, for clarification.
Well, my next soundtrack is also like that. I picked the song that stood out to me the most when I listened to it, but the whole soundtrack is really fun. And you can find it on Bandcamp. Where I can, I will post the composer's Bandcamp pages on the show notes as well. And I almost downloaded this game. I actually might with this handy-dandy Christmas present that I just got from a really good friend today. But I did not pick this game up. I picked up some of the other ones I've mentioned on Discord, but I probably will go back and pick up this game because it looks kind of fun. This is a boss theme. It's actually the final boss theme. And it's from the slightly unfortunately named Requiem. Requiem, Requiem. And this is the theme that plays when you fight the final boss, the Sorceress. that was The Sorceress from Recnum, composed by Ines Miras. She is also known as Cenecita on Bandcamp. And this was released for Switch and PS4 on January 31st of this year, 2020, which feels like a lifetime ago. In Recnum, you play the role of Princess Cherry, or Cherry, C-H-E-R-I, who must advance through 6 completely explorable zones, loot chests with crystals that will increase her passive skills in order to advance.
Like insight and stealth.
Yeah. The game has the autosave feature, so you can move at your own pace and devote to explore each area thoroughly. Okay, this has to be... Okay, this is from, the game studio's official, description of this, and I'm pretty sure that they're based outside of the US. So yeah, I'm gonna start this over. In Recnum, you play the role of Princess Cherry, who must advance through 6 different completely explorable zones, loot chests with crystals that will increase her passive skills in order to advance. The game has the autosave feature, so you can move at your own pace and devote to explore each area thoroughly. Each zone introduces different elements, which must be evaluated in order to be able to advance.
With the
Recnum. To examine how to advance, to examine the behavior of the enemies, and to fight bosses in the pure style of the NES will be your day-to-day in the game. The game has elements that make it very characteristic.
Ah!
Of the Recnum.
8-bit characters, 16-bit backgrounds, and bosses, all with modern effects to give life. The music section is also special. Composed by Ines Miras. She gives a twist to the gameplay since it has a bass structure in 8-bit with modern music and instrumental arrangements. Yep. I didn't know what I copied and pasted when I first added that to my playlist. That was a pleasant surprise. This soundtrack is actually, it's really cool. There is an 8-bit version and a more modern version. Because the game has different, styles that you can play it in. And there's another game, I think, Battle Princess Madeline, actually, another platformer that's more Ghouls and Ghosts-like than action platformery. But it has the same kind of motif, where there's a classic soundtrack and a modern soundtrack. A lot of games are going for this these days.
Panzer Paladin does it too. And
another game that Shukapow compared this sound to has not really modern, but 8-bit and 16-bit soundtracks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that game is?
The Messenger.
Yeah. This game, it doesn't sound like The Messenger to me as far as the actual sound samples themselves, but the composition is reminiscent, I think, of that Messenger sound. That sort of, super postmodern rock sound, but along with Eastern sensibilities in some of the instruments. But this was really fun. I liked it a lot. I liked the keyboard instrument synth that was kind of the star of the show. What did you think, ProfJeff?
I just really loved the vocal hits. As you said, it sounded like a bass choir.
Yeah.
It's just like this home or boom.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Wait, is that Katamari Damacy?
No, that's
Rayman?
It's episode 1.
Yeah. Duel of the Fates.
Duel of the Fates, yes.
They use Sanskrit in that, actually. I can read things.
Nice. Duel of the Fates. So, although I was actually thinking more of the dwarf choir sound in the Mines of Moria in Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to hear the remaster of this song in Recnum Re-Reckoning.
You mean re-recnoming?
Recnoming. Or either that or Recnum Numb and Number.
Oh, good night, ladies and gentlemen.
That's all, folks.
Oh, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was really cool. Really good stuff. Shukapow. What do you got for us next?
We've exhausted the Recnum.
Yeah, we've exhausted that. We're going on to the desert.
I'm kind of wiped out.
This is Meltdown 2 from Cave Story.
Ooh. Why don't you tell us a little about your experience with Cave Story? When you were talking about a game that RJ really likes, that you kind of started playing recently, I thought you were talking about this game. So, because you like the soundtrack a lot, don't you?
Yeah. You play as this little robot quote, and you go to this village called Amiga Village, where a bunch of Amigas live. Or more accurately, 3 Amigas.
And this is yet another game that has like different iterations of its soundtrack, right?
Yeah, it's got the original one and the remastered one.
And the original was by the actual game developer, right?
Yeah, Nicholas... No, wait, was that the...
We were corrected by Utopia Nemo on this early on in the show, so I gotta be careful. I actually don't know. I don't know if the composer... I want to say Daisuke Amaya? Or Chipsel? Daisuke, yes, thank you. But I don't know for sure. Maybe we can look it up, and when we come back, we can talk about it some. But which version are you playing?
This is the remastered one.
So that would be Ridiculon, I think.
Yeah.
But no, it's Nicalis is the one who did the remaster.
Sasuke!
Yeah, so, okay. And what is the song again?
Meltdown 2.
And where does this play in Cave Story?
It plays in Sand Zone. It's just Sand Zone.
You couldn't remember that?
Right, that was Meltdown 2 from Cave Story, released in 2004. Originally composed by Daisuke Amaya and Daisuke Amaya.
I don't say Sasuke when you're talking about your Naruto.
The remake was either composed by Nicholas Nygren, Danny Baranowski, Ridiculon, and I forgot the other one.
Dustin Kulwicki.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that all of them have versions of the soundtrack on the Switch, so you guys should go look them up because they're all really good. Cave Story, Daisuke Amaya's original compositions they were so solid, so stellar, that they're very easily remixable. Kind of like Toby Fox's compositions that way, actually. That was really cool. I dug it. I love the Cave Story soundtrack. It's a very bouncy, very, very upbeat. It definitely has a retro feel to it, but with a kind of a modern sensibility. I don't know, there wasn't like a certain part of the soundtrack that jumps out at me, but I really like this one. Nice pick.
Yeah.
Thanks. I could use a pick-me-up.
I like how bright it was, and I like how synthy it was. I like the sort of, I don't know, that sort of whirring noise at the beginning. I don't know what it is exactly. And then there was also this like one riff where it's the entire song stopped and it was like do 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 do, and it like kind of had this trill thing. It's very pixelated. I don't know how to describe music. I can describe Mesoamerican history better than music.
Yeah, I think that's. No, it wasn't you. It was actually Logan on. It was Ed's son on VG Embassy who described the sound as pixelated once, and it kind of stuck.
Pixelated audio.
Yeah. There you go. That's yet another VGM podcast. Yay!
Yay!
All right. That was really cool, though. I enjoyed that. Nice, bright, upbeat stuff. Do you, by any chance, have anything like that, sir, for your last pick of the night?
Yeah, so now we're going from the very creatively named Sand Zone to the Sunset Heights. This is from Spark the Electric Jester.
Oh, Spark. That's that possum guy we talked about, right?
No, this is different.
Oh, yeah, that's Sparkster.
Yeah, this is a slightly less. It doesn't change the world like Rocket Knight Adventures does, but it's really wonderful. It's definitely one of the best games of its time as a a Sonic-inspired game. It was actually released in 2017. So this is a Steam game, and this is Sunset Heights from Spark the Electric Jester. That was Sunset Heights from Spark the Electric Jester. Game was developed by Fepard. Composers include James Landino, Pejman Rusbey, I'll do my best, my apologies, Paul Berthers, Michael Staple, Andy Turnstall, and Falk Young.
That was a smooth, tasty jam right there. That right there, man. Oof. I'm gonna have to recommend some of this soundtrack to Hammock of KVGM The Last Wave. If you like this song, you will like The Last Wave. It's really jazzy, really smooth, and this was so nice. Nice way to end your round of tracks. We'll see if the actual play-out track is gonna be this smooth, but oh man, just the sense, the snappy, just R&B feel. I like the sort of muted vocal samples from the back, and yeah, that was good stuff. Shukapao, what are your words?
That was definitely very smooth.
How so?
It just was.
Instruments? Like what do you think? How do you think the composer, as a composer yourself, how do you think the composer accomplished this feat of smoothness?
I guess like the percussion, just like that steady beat.
Yeah, the synthy drums. Yep. Yeah. Call that a drum loop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sonic clones love loops.
Yes. So this game plays like a Sonic game?
Yeah, so it's like a cross between like Sonic, Kirby, and Rocket Knight, because there's a lot of different powers you can have, and you can also charge. The combat system is really great. I think if this game were like the soundtrack is wonderful, but if the game were just a little bit more polished, then it kind of would have beaten out The Messenger as like my favorite sort of Sega-like game. It doesn't quite get there, but it goes there a lot. So Spark the Electric Jester is actually just a dude he's like a jester with electric powers, and he like loses his job as a circus jester to like a robot, and so he goes on a trip, and eventually he like stops an evil robot from destroying the world, but the plot's kind of convoluted.
At some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like kind of a cartoony guy. He's like this.
He looks like Rice Star.
Yellow gumball head. He does kind of look like Rice Star, except without the star.
Well, he has like a little. He has like
the circle, the yellow circle with the jester hat.
Yeah, I think he has. It's like I think he has like Super Saiyan hair for a face.
Okay.
And like a little jester hat. I think it's cute.
Yeah. So, if you took music from that opening track from Rocket Knight and Kirby and Sonic, do you think it would sound like this, Shukapo?
I don't know.
I don't think so. To me, this sounds like straight up. So, my favorite composer is Hideki Naganuma, the mastermind behind a lot of Jet Set Radio music.
Oh, cool! Yeah. Mine's Grant Kirkhope, the best composer ever.
I mean, okay, I'm not gonna insult either of those geniuses by weighing them against each other.
They're very. I mean, it's East and West. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
It's bears and birds.
But he also did like Sonic Rush. This is like my second stealth Sonic track. I thought it was
track. The birds and the bees.
Yeah. Naganuma. Yeah.
And it's like if he would have like the same in terms of like the sort of bouncy popness. I don't know how to describe it, but there's this very like sort of this sort of dance beat thing he has. I like the muted vocal samples, but it sounds like a remix of a pre-existing Genesis Sonic track.
I could hear that, yeah. Like I do feel like if Sonic had continued really fully evolving along the original Genesis lines into the modern era instead of the whole like 3D recreation that happened, this is something like the music that it would sound like. And it actually reminds me of one of my favorite composers, especially on his Genesis work, and that's Yuzo Koshiro. Who's did a lot of like the house dance, that sort of sound, especially on like Streets of Rage.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, this song also there's aside from like the vocal, which I love, because this somehow like manages to get vocals into like an old like Sega Genesis style song without making it feel out of place. Mm-hmm. There's also the modem chirp. I noticed it because I kept thinking that my cat wanted to snuggle with me while I was playing this song, but no, it was just the music. He's always down to snuggle, coincidentally, so he's okay with that.
Yeah. And you pointed out that it's your favorite section, but the part where everything gets kind of muted and certain parts drop out.
Yeah.
I commented that it sounded kind of like the underwater version of the song, but yeah, that part it was really cool.
It's also interesting. So like this song has probably one of the slowest and like least remarkable entrances as of like the other ones. Like for example, the other song I was going to play was Flower Mountain Canyon. Yes, where it was more has a really great sort of intro riff, but I don't like the rest of the song as much as this one. They also made a sequel to Spark the Electric Jester that was based off of Sonic Adventure. But then I bought it and started playing it, and they didn't dub the voices with terrible voice actors, so it was canceled, and I just could not deal with it. It was just too far from the source material. I apologize, but it just it needs to have crappy voice acting with bad sampling. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel the same. Even if they did do the Crush 40-esque rock numbers. But yeah,
So maybe check out the soundtrack, but skip the game if you're not a purist when it comes to classic era 3D Sonic dialogue.
Yeah, but really, the first game has one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard, and it's a nice way of sneaking in a stealth Sonic game into this without making it actually be a Sonic game.
A lot of Sonic clones tonight. Yeah. And it's funny how many of them have electric themes. You got Sparkster, but that's not a Sonic clone. You got Socket. You've got Spark the Electric Jester, and this was cool. It was fun stuff. I liked it a lot. Really smooth way to start rounding up this awesome episode, which has had a real diversity of music on it. I've been very pleased with how this has gone. Not really surprised, but pleased with how this whole show has gone. I was also pleased to realize partway through that I thought I only had 4 picks tonight, but the way the rotation went, I actually have 5. And so I pulled one of my alternates out of the rubble. A couple of other honorable mentions that I've got before I play my last song. Actually, no. Let's start with you. What are some honorable mentions of yours that didn't quite make the list?
I was going to play Scab or Die from The End Is Nigh, which is it's not that obscure because it's recent, but it's Ed McMillan, the mastermind behind Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac, had a game that's kind of like a combination between the two, and that it's, depressing and kind of traumatic in terms of plot and aesthetics, but it's like platforming like Super Meat Boy, and it's also traumatic because it's extremely difficult. It's just really, it's even more difficult and harder to access than Super Meat Boy, but it kind of works with the gloomy aesthetics, because the idea is that the apocalypse happened, and this guy's NES cartridge, The End Is Nigh, stopped working, which is really, really great. The intro is super funny. But he has to go and make a friend. He's like a little black blob named Ash, and he has to collect the animate tumors from dead bodies so he can make a friend.
Gotta catch them all.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
But all the songs are remixed, remixed classical pieces, and so Scab or Die is Night on Bald Mountain, and it's a really sick chiptune.
If you had played that would be the second time you brought Night on Bald Mountain to the podcast.
It's not quite as innovative and brilliant as the one from Earthworm Jim, though.
Well, maybe I'll throw it under the blooper reel for today. It sounds like it might be a nice break.
Oh, that would be pretty impressive.
Okay, well then I'll go ahead and play my last track, and then I'll talk about some of my honorable mentions. And this one, which went from honorable mention to honorable closeout track for me, is from the game Sleepwalker. The name of the track is Graveyard. A little bit more about this song and the composer, who has become a favorite of mine as of late, when we come back. And that was Graveyard from Sleepwalker, released for Windows, Commodore 64, Amiga, and Amiga CD32, Atari ST, all in 1993, later ported to DOS and adapted for the SNES under the Eek the Cat license in 1994. And this track, as well as the rest of the soundtrack, was composed by Barry Leach. Man, this was jazzy. This was good stuff. Ugh. Barry Leach has become one of my favorite composers this year. I first got introduced to him, I'm pretty sure, by Ed from VG Embassy. Played one of Barry Leach's tracks earlier back on episode 10. A track from, what was it? Horizon Chase Turbo, the racing game from earlier this year, which was actually sort of a love letter to Barry Leach's, or another soundtrack Barry Leach worked on, Top Gear, a racing game from back in the 90s. And I've heard a lot of his more like upbeat stuff, and so when I heard this, I was really, really pleasantly surprised. It was... The guy knows his way around some jazz instruments, and the implementation, I'm always super impressed. This was the Amiga CD32 version, which the third time we've come back to that tonight, that system. That's been nice. I think that when you came last time, I actually tried to bring more stuff, but tonight it was more just by happenstance, because the games happened to be kind of cool, and the soundtracks were really nice. But yeah, this was cool, and apparently, according to at least one of the YouTube comments I saw, the Amiga 32 had the most like full sound version of any of the versions. Which, looking at some of the other stuff like the C64 and the Atari ST, that doesn't surprise me. This is the only Redbook quality audio, I think. So that was really good. Shukaval, what did you think of that?
That was definitely really cool and jazzy like that. That muted trumpet was really cool.
The run that the trumpet did toward the end.
Yeah.
I'd die.
Yeah. I had to go back and listen to it twice. You played an instrument in band. I think we talked about this last
trombone.
time. That Shukapow really wants to learn to play.
Yeah.
His arms are long enough.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think he does plan on getting one at some point, kind of teaching himself. He's got such a good sense of pitch. You commented on the whistling. Mm-hmm. He has a really nice, natural sense of pitch.
Well, you can also do like half tones, because like there are other in other musical theories from like non-European bases, they have like other notes that aren't recognized in the traditional 8-point scale.
Yeah, like the Arabian scale has it's like a 12-note scale or something like that. Yeah, they definitely emphasize half tones. I think sometimes even quarter tones in some of the other the non-Western, like you said, traditions.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with the Indian but mostly from hearing it, not from knowing anything.
Right. Yeah.
Like I know what some of the musical terms mean in Sanskrit, but I don't know what they mean like orally. Like I don't know what they sound like. Well,
and I'd be curious to know how much our ears would even pick up on it. Like you hear some of those experiments of like people going into like deep, like, I hate to use this word, but for lack of a better word, primitive, like jungle tribes, and showing them the color blue, for example. Yeah. But their civilization hasn't evolved to the point where they need or even understand the color blue, and so it just looks like a shade of green to them.
Yes, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis.
And I feel like the quarter tones in a lot of the other music would just kind of fly by us.
Well, it sounds out of tune.
More native listeners
which is very interesting.
Yeah, it does. So
it's very much like us being unable to people being unable to pronounce words outside their native languages because the sounds are different, and so the muscles in their mouths required to make those noises haven't developed.
Steve McDykel.
We can't make the right mouth noises.
I recognize that. That's the baseball players.
Yes.
It's the best thing ever.
And little tease there.
Todd Gonzalez.
I think we're going to have to do a baseball episode next season just so we can play that on the podcast.
You can bring those Super Sentai baseball players back.
Oh, man. Yeah, from the Ninja episode. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was such a fun soundtrack.
That one. What was it called?
Super Baseball Batman.
Yeah.
No, Ninja Baseball Batman.
Yeah, that's what it was. Ninja Baseball Batman.
Nice. That's what they call me in the cage fighting league underground in my city. I'm Vengeance and I'm the Knight. But back to that track, I like how it started with the jazz. It started like a Scooby-Doo graveyard, and then when the car kicked in, it went to a Castlevania graveyard.
Yes.
That's kind of, I mean, I have a very, I can describe music, but not using musical terms.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we if you can't speak a language,
it's synesthesia.
Talk around it as
That's
well
what
as
I think of.
There you go, synesthesia, yeah. I loved the anvil sound. That's supposed to be like the chiming of the clock. And so this game, I
love vocals in songs.
So, on the SNES, there was a licensed version, or a licensed game based on Rocko's Modern Life called Spunky's Big Adventure. Spunky is Rocko's dog from the cartoon.
Yeah.
And in this game, Spunky will just go along and just walk kind of like a lemming from the Lemmings. Mm-hmm. And he'll just eat whatever's in his path, go wherever. And as Rocko, you have to go around the level and shape the level around Spunky so that he won't die.
That's when I walk my cat, Teek the cat. Which rhymes with Eek the cat, but it's different.
That sounds like that Mario game where you like have to
Baby Mario?
Wind up the little Mario
Mario and
dudes.
Donkey Kong, Mario versus Donkey Kong minis.
Yeah.
It's like parenting. You'll figure it out. If you feel like it later.
If you feel like
is about a boy named Lee
and his blob.
Well, actually, not his blob, but his dog named Ralph. And Lee is a sleepwalker.
Mm-hmm.
And you play as Ralph, going through the levels,
that's cute.
Making sure that Lee doesn't die. Or wake up, because you're not supposed to wake a sleepwalker. So your goal is to try to get him back into bed. And if Lee wakes up, the player loses a life, and if it happens 3 times, the game is over. So that's... Yeah.
So actually, in ancient India, 500 years before the birth of Christ, they actually documented that same thing, that you're not supposed to wake up a sleeper because the soul's outside their body and they're just going to die if you do it.
I mean, that's probably not scientifically wise.
No, but they documented that people believed it, not that it happened.
Oh, yes. but the people believed.
But I mean, that belief.
We
is
knew that you weren't
documented.
supposed to wake a sleepwalker, even though they didn't necessarily fully understand medically why.
Yeah, it's more metaphysics than medicine.
Meta-medicine.
Don't understand science? Turn to religion.
But maybe don't take the vaccine.
Take the vaccine.
Take the vaccine. Here's your PSA.
Unless you believe in Darwin, then I'll follow your bliss.
Selection.
There you go. Yeah. So, that is what this game is about, and I imagine that in this area, Lee, for whatever reason, is sleepwalking through a graveyard, and you're trying to make sure he doesn't fall into graves.
Or if anyone in the graves wakes up, because then you have this whole other...
Yeah, that's like a whole other type of game. Yeah, and so... Also, a little side note, this is kind of cool. The game was apparently made to promote the charity Comic Relief. All profits made from the sales of the game went to charity. That's a British charity founded in 1985 by Richard Curtis and Lenny Henry in response to the famine in Ethiopia. And the whole point of it was like they got comedians and different entertainment groups together, and it just kind of grew. And Comic Relief, I'm pretty sure, is still going. I think Michael Bridgewater, one of
has Ethiopia eaten yet? I guess that's a whole other geopolitical situation.
It is, yeah. There's a lot going on in Addis Ababa and the rest of Ethiopia right now, but I don't know if... I mean, famine, I'm sure, is part of it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of geopolitical unrest in northeastern Africa right now. So, yeah, but Comic Relief definitely is still running. Michael Bridgewater, I'm pretty sure, is one of the... He streams and, gets money for it. It's either Comic Relief or another one. Follow Forever Sound version, and you will hear what it is that he does toward the end of every year. And yeah, but Sleepwalker, Graveyard, composed by Barry Leach. And I think that's going to... Oh, I was going to talk about some of my honorable mentions. I really wanted to bring something from Commander Keen. Because I loved the Commander Keen games back on DOS when I was a little kid. Yeah. And they were just really, really a lot of fun. Commander Keen was developed by id Software, the same group that eventually made Wolfenstein and Doom. Commander Keen actually makes a cameo in a secret area toward the end of Doom 2.
Is he the Doomslayer's secret identity?
No, but you can find a secret room and you find a bunch of Commander Keens, just...
It's like
hung.
The no longer Peachy Keen.
They're
yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, and you can shoot them, and the Commander Keen dies with his classic death sound, but he melts into a pile of guts. So yeah, it's not really like the Commander Keen games. But
I like my idea better.
There was decent music, but it wasn't
take off the helmet and just Commander Keen's face.
That would be amazing. Like Commander Keen,
almost as good as Sparks.
And now he's the
Rocket Knight
with a bunny rabbit.
Oh, the bunny rabbit. Yes, Commander Keen with the bunny rabbit. Yeah, but the poor bunny. Anyway, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, yeah.
You liked Commander Keen.
I liked Commander Keen. I didn't really find any songs from any of the games that jumped out at me as much as the ones I played. But honorable mention, because there was some pretty good stuff out there. I also thought about bringing something from the Great Gianna Sisters. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
This was, I don't remember which system it was for or which publisher developed it. The sequel actually eventually came to DS, which is interesting because the Great Gianna Sisters was a 100% Mario ripoff. If you look up the Great Gianna Sisters gameplay...
Maybe I saw it and forgot about it.
It's Super Mario Brothers. The soundtrack, though, does not sound anything like Koji Kondo's soundtrack. It's a lot more techno-y and stuff, a lot more actually kind of like Kid Chaos a little bit. But it was a decent soundtrack, but again, not as good as anything I actually played. So those are 2 runner-ups I want to mention. And before we get to Shukapau's final pick and see if he has any runner-ups.
I do not.
Us. Okay. Other than the Hollow Knight thing that I never, I
never have any.
You know what you want to play and you play it and then you kind of stop looking. So,
Yep.
That's all right. That single-mindedness will serve you well in life, especially if you do go into engineering. It's not a bad thing. But let me see. ProfJeff. Can you be found anywhere online other than this podcast?
I don't want to be found.
That's okay. That's all right. Then we will keep your identity a secret.
Yeah.
And ProfJeff is
Not as secret as ours, though.
educating the great young minds
youths.
of the world, the youths of the world, in the
Pokemon
awesome ways of religion.
But
From a
the
secular
history
standpoint,
of religion.
From a historical standpoint.
Yeah,
yes.
like
history, of
literary and history of ideas, focusing literature and philosophy.
It's more like a education than indoctrination.
All education has ideological content.
Very true.
Yeah, I can get very aggressive when caffeinated.
All right. So, you can find us on YouTube and on Patreon and on Google and on Twitter. And all the stuff that's in the show notes that we talk about at the end of every episode. If you would like to support us, you can go to patreon.com/VGMVGM and you can join up here if your New Year's resolution is to, support more of the content that you so enjoy for free, unless you are one of our other awesome patrons who I'll mention in a moment. You can start by supporting us. You can give for as little as $1 a month for a mention on the show, or just because you want to. Or you can donate a little bit more, and you can recommend songs for the show. You can vote on polls that... I think there should be one going up shortly after this episode airs that is going to kind of list some of the topics that we might have out for Season 3, and we're going to let our patrons pick some of the topics that we're going to play and are going to explore. Some of the other perks include Shukapau making a sprite or a little composition for you. Another of the perks is that you can come on the show and share a little bit of your gaming experience with us and some of the music that you love, or you can just recommend a whole topic and you can recommend all the songs, or just recommend a topic and have us pick, but it's all up to you. So if you would like to come support us, promote us, or if you just want to interact with us, you can find us on YouTube and make your comments there. You can find us at Shukapau on Twitter. You can email us at verygoodmusicvgm@gmail.com. You can find Shukapau's compositions on flat.io. Just look for Lloyd Irving for Smash. And lots of other stuff can be found on our YouTube channel if you want to go find all of our other episodes and all the playlists and some of our bonus content. And I think... Shukapau, am I forgetting anything?
I've got to do the new Among Us map theme.
Oh yeah, you have to make a new Among Us. Yeah, Shukapau has been making music that could be played while you're playing Among Us, so if you ever want to look into that, he's got it. Go find it. Alright, Shukapau, why don't you tell us about your last track, and then we will read this out.
Alright, this is from Super Meat Boy. It's called Betis Blues Hospital Dark World. Actually, the Dark World, Betis Blues was the Light World one. The Dark World theme's name is C.H.A.D's Broken Wind.
C.H.A.D's Broken Wind. What a perfect way to end this night.
As an abbreviation, C.H.A.D.
Okay, this is the music from the Hospital stage in World 2, the Dark World version, which looks like it's slightly more popular. And who composed this?
This was composed by Danny Baranowski.
Yes.
Another great.
Go ahead and give us like all the information about it, since we're not going to be coming back from this one, since it's our playout track.
All right. That
did sound kind of dark. We're not coming back from this one, boys.
Hashtag 2020.
This was released in 2010.
No, we've made it to 2021. Hopefully, if this podcast posts.
If you're alive to hear this.
Anyway, this was released in 2010. Released for the Switch, PS4, and more. And of course, composed by Danny Baranowski.
Yes. ProfJeff, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll have you back. Season 3, Episode 11, whatever we decide to do.
It'll be interesting.
Yep. And we're going to play out with Hospital Dark World version from Super Meat Boy. Until next time, I'm Bedroth.
And I'm Shukabal.
Play very good games.
Be very good people.
And keep listening to very good music!
This is actually what I thought you were talking about earlier when you were talking about a soundtrack that RJ really likes and a game RJ really likes. That you played. Don't play it yet. We're talking.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're still recording. The Sanddial will protect us.
The Sanddial will protect us. Alright, when was this released?
Instead of holding a cross, I'm holding a Sanddial. Have mercy on our souls, Sephiroth.
I thought it was supposed to be. I thought it was supposed to be like the Helix dude, the Pokemon with the shell and like the squid thing, Gen 1.
Shelter.
It's not Tentaclone. It's not Sheldon.
Sheldon.
Clack clack clack.
Beep beep beep.
Whenever you're ready. I'm recording. Ow! That's my glasses.
Oh, my cat does that to me. It's cute.
That was...
Inside of...
Anime Undertale.
It's a... Fumito Tamayama. Let's try that again. Well, my next song... is nice. Is also I don't know what words are. Yeah,
they sure are. Bedroth.
I'm getting tired. Okay. Fusion. What's your confusion? Okay, 2021. What? What? Like,